What's up, book crows? I am Thyme, and I will be your host today. And I am joined by my forever usual co-host and absolute Sailor Moon fanatic, Beryl.
So
If it's not magical Sailor Moon girls, it's magical horse girls.
I want to make it clear that Uma Musume is not magical horse girls. They're just horse girls.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough.
For those curious why this is being said, before recording, we sat down for recording, and for like the hour beforehand, we were looking at anime figures of Uma Musume and My Little Pony, and then I started explaining a major plot point in Sailor Moon.
Yes. I'm also joined by my furry co-host, Morticia. She's sitting on a chair next to me, being cute. She wants me to pet her tummy so she can attack me.
You gotta get a cat that's already given birth because they do not care about tummy rubs. They love that shit.
Penelope loves tummy rubs. Like, she'll lay down next to me on the bed and I'll just be petting her tummy. But Morticia, no.
Understandable. Different boundaries.
Yeah, and I respect those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
She's so cute, though.
Mm-hmm. She just wants to tell you that she loves you.
Yeah. Anyway, today we will be reviewing Fate Be Changed by Farrah... Oh, fuck, how do I pronounce it? I didn't listen to an audiobook of this. Farrah Rochon? Rochon? I'm gonna say Rochon. I am so sorry. It's an African-American name, and I think they're from South Louisiana, so there's some French in there. I was doomed from the beginning.
I'm so sorry. Can you show me the French?
The French.
Hey, you said French first.
It's possibly that there's French involved. You know what? Dalton! You lived in Louisiana? Help me pronounce this name, damn it!
Yeah, I don't fucking know how to pronounce that name.
My husband lived in Louisiana for a few years, so help me pronounce this name. I don't know how to pronounce.
I would say Farrah Rochon.
Say that closer to the mic, please.
Farrah Rochon.
Thank you. That.
Thank you, special guest Dalton.
Thank you, special guest Dalton. But yeah, we'll be reviewing that.
Oh, this is great. Love the start of this episode already.
This episode's gonna be pretty unhinged, okay? I'm gonna tell you that now. Mind you, okay. You know, the audience does not know, but you know that Brave is one of my favorite Disney movies. Not my absolute favorite, but one of.
Yes.
It is my favorite Disney princess movie. Okay? So I saw this book, and I was very excited to see it. I had to hold off buying it because somebody already bought it for me. So I was very excited for this, okay? Now, the hook for this book, because this is a Twisted Tales book, is... What if the witch gave Merida a different spell? Now, what do you think when you hear that, okay?
I'm gonna think, like, maybe not a bear, maybe Merida becomes the bear.
Okay. Now...
It better not be.
I'm gonna give...
It better not be time travel. Look. Since we were just talking about Sailor Moon... I love Sailor Moon. I will talk about Sailor Moon for hours. I barely give the time travel in Sailor Moon a pass. Hilariously, the story that I give the most pass to for time travel is actually Harry Potter with a time turner. And that's just ignoring the fact that the Cursed Child it's fiction. Cursed Child doesn't exist. What are we talking about? Moving on.
No, Cursed Child doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about. Is it Cursed Child?
I know.
Never heard of it.
Wasn't that Harry?
Yeah, the time turners in Harry Potter works really well because they don't actually fuck with anything.
Yeah, everything that was supposed to happen has already happened.
So, the best way to describe this book is Back to the Future, but make it Scotland.
Okay, this is gonna be unhinged. Got it.
Yeah, this is gonna be very unhinged. Yeah, I'm gonna get into the actual meat and potatoes of the story, and then I'll either be unhinged after my full summary, or I'll be unhinged during my full summary, or maybe both. I don't know. But before we get into the story, I'm gonna give you a bit of a history lesson, okay?
Okay.
Now, remind you, My family is one of those stereotypical, we're a Scots-Irish family. We're very proud of our heritage. I've also been to Scotland, but that's a different story. I am a bit of a weirdo in the fact that somewhere along my line, my genetic makeup decided to wake the fuck up and go, what are we doing in America? I don't understand any of this. Why are we in America today? This place sucks. So then my brain went, I'm gonna go learn some history. And then I'm like, well, this is a lot better. Let's learn the culture, let's learn the folklore, let's learn everything. So as someone who is reading a fictional fantasy Scotland book, and has been to Scotland and also the Tartan Museum, I have some fashion history tips. But first, where and when is Brave set? Brave is set theoretically. Okay, I'm saying theoretically.
Yeah.
In Highlands of Scotland in the 9th to 12th century. Now, the 9th to 12th century comes from the animators of the movie, okay? Now, I say theoretically on the actual Highlands part because if you look at I know this is fantasy, but I'm gonna nitpick a bit, okay? If you look at the landscape of where they based things off of, okay, Scotland's pretty flippin' big, so they base a few things off of where the Vikings invaded. Now I'm gonna get more into that, but the issue is the castle they based the Dunbroch Castle on is not actually in the Highlands; it's in the Lowlands. The little circle. The stone circle is actually on an island that's, way northwest, on a different island, not even near the castle. However, there are stone circles all the way around. The most famous and one of the biggest stone circles is actually in Orkney. It's also one of the coolest areas to go to. Now, the other thing is, there's a third area that it's kind of based off of, but I can't remember exactly where it is, and my map is all the way in the living room, but there's a little glen area that's another area that they based the movie on. Now, the last thing is the Fire Falls. Yeah, that's not anywhere in Scotland. But first, let's get into our history of the 9th to 12th century Scotland, because there's a little bit of importance to this, and the fact of both the movie and mostly the book talk about Vikings. Now, you're thinking, Thyme, why are we talking about Vikings? We're in Scotland. Well, you know why? I know, Marticia. This is so exciting. Now, 9th to 12th century Scotland, for people like me who need the actual years, is 800 to 1200 AD. This is important for many reasons. Keep that in mind, okay? This is a time where we see a demise of the Four Kingdoms. Hilariously, there are four kingdoms in the actual movie of Brave, which has developed the... Can you get your ass out of my face?
Morticia really wants attention. Holy shit. I don't think she's been this loud ever.
Okay, so this is a time when we see a demise of the four kingdoms which had developed territories in 400 AD. And this includes the progressive downfall of the Picts. Now, if you're not a really big history buff, and even then, while I have a book of the Picts on my wall right across from me, I have not fully read it. The Picts are basically the original inhabitants of Scotland. Mm-hmm. Now, towards the end of the 9th century, we do see the even more progressive downfall. Another thing that happens is you don't see a lot of the Picts anymore, except for in very archaeological things, partially because Christians are around this time, Viking invasions, obviously. Also, for some reason, Scotland is just not focused on when people talk about Celtic folklore or anything like that. I don't know why.
People just really like to focus on Ireland.
Yeah, and while I love Ireland, my guys, my gals, my non-binary peeps, Scotland is right there.
So is Wales.
So is Wales. To be fair, I might have a little bit of Welsh in me, but my family's mostly Scottish.
I mean, honestly, the most forgotten part of the Celtic cultures is Brittany. Mm-hmm. Out of all of them, yeah. Everybody forgets Brittany was part of the Celtic cultures.
And that one, I believe Brittany's part of France, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's why.
Yeah.
It's because it's right there.
There's a reason why France has tried to get England to join with it a few times.
Yeah, fuck. Fuck England.
Fuck both of them.
Yeah, fair. So, Vikings, who began invasions in the East England area, along with the Northern Isles and the Western Isles, now focus on Iona, which is about midwest up Scotland on a map. So west side, about halfway up. So this is also when they capture Orkney. And in many areas, there was also a lot of cohabitation between the Vikings and the Picts and also the Gallic people of Ireland as well. And this is why we have so much beauty in things like the Celtic knots and stuff. But if you go to Orkney, the Viking and Norwegian influence is everywhere in Orkney. It is really huge. Now, in the 10th century, so the 900s, is when we get early development for modern Scotland, and we see the language changing and the downfall of Pictish. 11th century is where we see religious structure build. It becomes more widespread, and finally, the 12th century is where we see the Gallic culture become regarded as less than, and we actually see Scottish kings become in tune with French culture.
Which years? What year are we talking about?
12th century.
That checks out.
So, yeah. But further north, so about more where the book is going to be, there's still Viking struggles going on over in the Moray Firth. So that is on the eastern side. There's a little Inja over by Inverness.
Yeah.
So over by where, Yeah. And so that is about the best way I can figure this book is supposed to be, is like right smack in the middle, maybe somewhat above that area.
Yeah, over by Inverness.
Yeah, and so this is where they're still in the grip of struggle in the 12th century, and the Vikings and the Gallic with the Vikings and the Gallic kings end up being able to get control about 1130. Now, that was just my overview of the 9th to 12th century, so we know about the setting of where this book is. Now, mind you, I would not have been so big into figuring this stuff out if it had not been stuff that was mentioned in the book, and also probably this was not a book that had Scotland in it. But this is the real thing that made me start looking into the 9th and 12th century, okay? Because my brain started churning, because I know the history of the tartan. I know how the tartan actually functions historically. That is the real reason I looked up 9th to 12th century and what was happening. Because the big thing we're going to get into is the history of the tartan. And this is why I'm going to piss off a bunch of Scots-American people.
They need to be pissed off.
But let's hear your comments first. Let's hear your comments first.
Okay, so
your questions, concerns.
First of all, we know why the 1130s, by around the time that the Gallic king got to win against the Vikings, and that is because the Vikings were being very rapidly Christianized at that moment. And so Viking numbers of people who actually wanted to do raids and wanted to participate in the raiding culture that the Vikings had were rapidly declining in the first place, which is probably how the Gallic king ended up. Yeah. Of course, the southern part of Scotland is going to be influenced by French culture because what year is it? I mean, William the Conqueror is going to happen around that time.
Yeah, that he was mentioned.
Yeah, and then Inverness is already a name that is very closely tied to Scandinavian culture and Viking culture, as my last name kind of proves.
Yeah. So I've been to Inverness because that when you're going on a cruise around Scotland, just as let's hit the fun areas, right? Mm-hmm. Inverness is where you stop at to get to Loch Ness.
Yes, it is. Notably, my Scandinavian roots did not conquer the east side of Scotland. They were responsible for fucking up the west side of Scotland. So I have more ties to the Isle of Skye, but also I'm from, my family's from southern Norway, specifically western southern Norway, so it makes sense why they would go a little bit farther than people from Oslo. And also, you said your family identifies with the traditional Scots-Irish that Americans often say. Can I talk about this, or do you want me to wait to talk about this? Want me to talk about it right now?
You know what? Let's talk about it after we talk about the tartan.
Okay.
Because I get the feeling you'll go more into that.
Okay, beautiful. I can't wait to rip into my fellow Americans.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna preface this, okay, because of how I was raised, my family. When I was Beryl can attest. In middle school, when this movie came out, I was I was one of those asshole people. I have evolved.
It's okay. It's okay. We've both evolved. I have pronouns.
Yeah.
You have your. You accept that. We've both changed.
Tourists won't be as pissed off with me if I go to their country.
Yeah.
Now, fashion history lesson, my children. We need to discuss the kilt, but more importantly, the tartan. Now, everyone knows the tartan, the kilt. I don't need to go into, what it is. And this is per the Scottish History Museum, which, again, I have been to. I have a kilt in my closet that I got there, okay? It had to be professionally altered. It was really hilarious when the guy went to take my measurements, because I was I was in layers, okay? I was there in October. Chilly. It was rainy, cold. Yeah. I had to take off my layers, and then he went and measured my waist and went, oh. Now, the standard garment of the Gaul, and I do apologize to any actual Scottish people if I pronounce anything wrong. I'm American. I apologize. So, the standard garment of the Gaul in the Highlands was a tunic called the lene, which it means shirt. And basically, you know how if you're watching like older movies, they have like the tunic that goes down to the knees for men? You see it in like the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings, for example. Mm-hmm. Yeah, think of that. And later in the 16th century, after this, it becomes more elaborate. However, there is a woolen shawl or wrap that would have been worn a lot at this time to make it so you're warmer, and that is called a plaid, which just means blanket.
Okay, that makes sense.
This is part of why I printed off the research so I knew everything was accurate, because they kept switching tartan and plaid in this book, and it was getting obnoxious.
Oh, don't fuck with the term tartan. Just don't.
No.
Like, you can mess up the word plaid, but you can't interchange tartan with literally anything else.
Mind you, they did do some research for this, because they do use plaid in terms of a blanket. So props. Back to our history lesson. They could have had a tartan pattern for this plaid, since we do have some evidence from the 3rd to 4th century of a tartan-esque pattern in existence at this time. Now, the belted kilt, which is the grandfather to the modern kilt. This became known in the 16th century, with the earliest mention being in 1594. Part of the idea here was that the more fabric you had, the more affluent and wealthy you were. Now, if you've seen anyone with a belted kilt and how it gets put on, there's a guy, his name's Andy the Highlander. Great dude. I actually have his book. Beautiful. I love belted kilts. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, one of the other things is, with wool cost dropping, we also see woolen wraps and plaids becoming more common in fashion. The little wrap, or the philibeg, this is the father of the modern kilt. This is harder to date, but it likely was late 17th century, early 18th century. This leads us into the modern kilt that we know of today, which we first see instance of in 1790.
Okay.
Now, why is all this important? Well, we are in 9th to 12th century Scotland, my friends. We have clans and tartans.
Yes, we do.
Not really.
Oh.
So, the early tartan cloth was hand woven. And just like anyone else making fabric, the weavers would have wanted to get a little creative with their patterns and their designs. The names we see with tartans and, the clan designs came about due to the industrialization of weaving in about 1780. And that's from what I could find. Either way, they originally didn't have names, and due to marketing is why the clan names were added. We don't see a major boom in the Clan Tartan Association until the 19th century due to the revolutionization of the Highland dress. So, and the big reason for this is during the Jacobites War, Tartans were outlawed, basically. They tried to get rid of them.
Oh.
And yes.
That's why my dad told me that tartans are like game clothes, but cool, even though like
yes,
like respect games
they,
to a certain extent, please.
Yeah. So think this is literally how the Scottish Tartan Museum explains it. The clan name on a tartan is like the brand name on a Jeep Cherokee. Anyone can drive a Jeep Cherokee. Anyone can wear a tartan.
That makes sense. It's also a revolutionary symbol as well because of the Jacobite War.
Yes. So the big part of this is ancient Scottish people would not have had a clan tartan is the big thing. We would not see, for example, my clan name. The Cunningham tartan that's on my kilt and on my woolen scarf that I got from the Scottish Museum. My family did not wear those colors.
Yeah.
They probably didn't even wear that weave. So I'm sorry to all of my fellow, Scottish enthusiasts because your family's Scottish, so clearly you're from an amazing clan and all that fun stuff. It's not ancient. It's a 19th century marketing ploy, my dudes.
To play devil's advocate here on the side of fiction.
Yes.
There is this thing where when you are setting something in a certain setting, you have to give in to what a modern audience would expect. So it's kind of like...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the Tiffany paradox, as I call it. For our listeners who don't know what the Tiffany paradox is, Tiffany is a name that you would have commonly found in the medieval era. It was actually a masculine nickname, I believe, for the name Theodore. Don't quote me on that spot exactly, but it is a name that would have been incredibly common, a nickname that would have been incredibly common to call somebody back in the day. But because of our modern associations with the name Tiffany, being a girl who's ditzy and rich and white and modern, it gives the readers a sense of cognitive dissonance and kicks them out of their suspended disbelief when they are consuming these stories. That being said, I do believe...
I honestly... it wouldn't annoy me so much, except for the fact that this is something I know, and this is something I've known for a bit. I also follow a fashion historian on YouTube. Bernadette Banner, if you're interested, is amazing. And like I said, there's evidence of Highland clothing in the 17th to 18th century. It's just not what we know of today. Mm-hmm. And the big thing is there was some other research done for type of dress, even for the movie. Like, historians look at the dresses for Merida and Eleanor, and they're like, yeah, this is great. No historians talk about the kilts in the movies. And I think that's because everyone just is like, oh, yeah, the modern kilts.
Yeah, and I understand to some degree we need to make it look like what the modern audience would expect. I also understand that people who want to consume more stories set in, I'm not going to call it ancient Scotland, early medieval Scotland is what I would call it. People who want to consume stories set in early medieval Scotland are more likely to do this kind of research that Thyme is partaking in.
Yeah, and I mean, I have not read Outlander, partially because the romanticization of Scottish men upsets me deeply, and just as a whole, to me, is disgusting how much it's done. I also know that there's a lot of assault in that book that to me would be uncomfortable reading. I'm more uncomfortable watching because of the way my brain works. It would stick with me more watching it than reading it. But
I've seen the first 10 minutes of the Outlander TV show, and I could not. There's an attempted essay, 2 attempted essays in the first 10 minutes. It's wild.
Yeah. So while I love that it has inspired certain people, mostly, and when I say inspire certain people, I don't mean the tourists that decide to go to Scotland because of it. I do like that it inspired people like Andy the Highlander to go look into the places they live, because he was, I believe, an extra on the set of Outlander. So that's why he did research into history of Scotland and mythology of Scotland. That's why he wrote his book and started his channel. But yeah, most people are going to do medieval period pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know that people are going to think of their clans and things like that.
Yeah.
Mind you, clans as a whole is not unique to Scotland.
No, they were all over the place. They're a very easy step for people to do in early settlements of like early civilization.
I mean, look at Native Americans. They have their Native American tribes, where each of them has a little distinct culture to it. It's basically the same thing. They have their little system of how things are run and stuff like that. So I don't know why we romanticize it so much with Scotland, but not everywhere else.
I have a theory. It feels as though a lot of American women romanticize a specific type of burly man.
The lumberjacks.
Yeah.
You know, everyone just wants the brawny paper towel guy so hard.
I don't get it. I'm not going to pretend like I get it.
I don't get it either.
Granted, I also know that, like, in Scotland, men generally treat women a little bit better. So there might also be a sense of sexualization of Scottish men because of the association with men who treat you better, but it doesn't mean that all men treat you better when you're in Scotland. It's kind of like the Italian men.
That's also really... That's so interesting, considering how barbaric Scottish men are portrayed in media.
It is. I don't get it.
That was one thing that bugged me about the Brave movie, is how barbaric and how's the best way to say this? I guess the best way to say this would be using Obi-Wan Kenobi as a thing, how uncivilized they're portrayed as.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you were going to make your critiques of Scottish American people.
No, specifically the word Scots-Irish and how Americans use Scots-Irish. Because you've heard me make this rant before.
Make it.
Okay, so first of all, Americans have a really great way of taking their culture that they are so many steps removed from and making it all about how that culture makes them rough and tumble and yada yada yada, makes them all rude and mean and whatnot. They do this with Italian Americans, they do this with German Americans, they do this with Scottish Americans and Irish Americans. Just like, for some reason, everybody's a drunk and everybody's an aggressive asshole.
St. Patty's Day.
I mean, just look at how we treat Cinco de Mayo here in America.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But let's talk specifically about Scots-Irish and the history of the word Scots-Irish in America specifically. Because if you go anywhere else and you say Scots-Irish, they're going to be confused. Because Scots-Irish doesn't mean Scottish and Irish. Okay? Take that out of your brains, dear listeners. So, what actually happened? Where does this word Scots-Irish come from? Where does it pop up from? That's actually a post-Revolutionary War word. Because the English that were in America, the people who still wanted to identify as English people, realized that they were not so welcome anymore in a post-Revolutionary War American society. So instead of calling themselves English, they decided that they needed to be something similar, but not the same. So they can't be Scottish, because gross, Scottish people. They can't be Irish, because gross, Irish people. Wow, my speech defect really came out there. Anyways. So they can't be Welsh, because who the fuck knows about Wales other than us weirdos here? So instead of saying that they were any of the other ones, instead of saying that they are English, because obviously being English is not in fad right now, we're Scots-Irish, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now, we have generations upon generations of these families doing this, we're Scots-Irish, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but not telling their kids what that fucking means. So we have something like 70% of the people in the United States who believe that they are Scottish and Irish never came from Scotland or Ireland. They are English. So stop. Like, Thyme is actually Scottish and Irish.
Yes. My grandfather literally came from Dublin. I have it in my genealogical chart.
I'm more Irish than you guys. Not you, Thyme.
You are.
I'm more Irish than the average person who claims that they are Scots-Irish.
You're probably also more Irish than me, considering the fact that my family only went to Ireland because if they stayed in Scotland, they were gonna be massacred after the Jacobites War.
God damn it.
Because we were on the losing side.
So I'm pretty open about the fact that I'm a third generation Norwegian and third generation German American.
Yeah.
I'm also fourth generation Irish.
Mine is a lot more removed. The biggest thing is because of how, and this is something that is not talked about enough, I feel like, because there's obviously a sense of diaspora when you are forced to leave your homeland. You see it with the people who've had to flee Ukraine. You see it with African people who were forced to come here and had to leave behind their culture. One of the big things is, as someone who is a multi-generation American, I look at my family, and this might be an autism thing, this might be a depression thing, I don't know. My brain is not wired the way most people's is. I look at my family, I look at where I live, and there is this sense of lacking. And I found more and more as I got older, I did not identify with the place I lived.
I feel that.
Or the people I was raised around. And it's really obvious now when I go home and I see my family and I see them for holidays. There is a sense of it's a sense of hollowness. You have this lacking emptiness inside because you don't have a culture. You know, in America it's supposed to be this melting pot, which is a beautiful thing if that's actually what we did, but that's not what we do. You especially for Irish and Scottish people who came here, you could not be Irish or Scottish. You had to leave it behind because if you were treated as less than. That's why throughout history we see Irish people not cared about in America. They were given terrible jobs. They were paid less, and because of that, especially because of the African slave trade that came here, they then started to pit Irish people and Scottish people against Africans because, the African people are taking your jobs. Much like we see now with how lower class people see immigrants as a threat because they're taking your jobs when they're not. It's a very interesting feeling because I'm not Irish if you talk to an Irish person because I don't live there. I was not born on Irish soil. I was not born on Scottish soil. But at the same time, while I was born and raised in America and am forced to stay here due to a lack of immigration and ability, I do not consider myself American. It is a very interesting feeling. It is a very lonely feeling that I'm sure a bunch of other people identify with. But it is why I turn to my history books and my mythology books. And yeah.
It's so interesting how history has stripped us of our identities here in the Americas. Respect to the Nahuatl people in Mexico for managing to keep their history and evolve it in such a beautiful way. I love the current state of Mexican culture. It's so beautiful and vibrant.
Yeah, I also, it's also interesting since my family is also Native American. I'm so distant, I am not considered it by the government. If you talk to most Native people, they wouldn't give a shit. Native American lit teacher was like, no, you are. But per the government, I'm not allowed to be. But because my family left the reservation, I know nothing.
Yeah.
It's something that, it makes me sad. Like, I think about the Library of Alexandria and how much was lost. And I think that's the only way to describe it is I was listening to a book on African American history of how every time someone in the transatlantic slave trade died, a piece of their culture and history and knowledge died.
Yeah.
And that's what it reminds me of. Like, the more generations we get removed, the more and more it went away.
Yeah. And I think that's something to circle back to the Scots-Irish thing. because that is exactly what happened
Yeah.
to the Scots-Irish thing, except the Scots-Irish thing are just white people who are obnoxious versus actual, like, people of color who have had their history forcibly removed. Time marches forward, for better and for worse.
I think that's the big thing, is before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of this book, you know, since we're 41 minutes into recording,
Yeah.
which won't be 41 minutes by the time we get to the editing process. Children, ask your parents about your culture. Learn everything you can.
And question your parents. Do that too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be fully honest, like, I put two and two together when I was looking at my mom's side of the family, because I'm third generation on my dad's side, and of course fourth generation on my mom's side, but that's still a lot of people who have been in America for a very long time. And I put two and two together and went, wait a second, did our family own slaves in the South? And once I started questioning and looking things up, I realized that my family has been hiding the fact that they owned slaves in the South.
Your family also has Nazis.
My family also has Nazis. It's a shit sandwich.
My family, I'm guessing, was too poor. My sixth great-grandfather came here. It was around the Revolutionary War period, actually. He was a reverend. So I'm pretty sure he left because you have religious differences. It could have also been, you know, the fact of Irish people were told, and lower-class English people, everyone was told, you know, America's a place where you can make a new life for yourself, basically. But my family was all Northerners.
That's interesting because of the, like I just said, I'm third generation, two lines, and one fourth generation, another line. It's interesting because only one of those three lines came to America first. The Germans in my family went to Canada first and then had to go from Canada to America illegally to try and escape being sent back to Germany. Yeah, that's a whole thing. And then the Irish person that I'm like through, we had no clue she was Irish because she actually immigrated.
Oh yeah,
Yeah?
Didn't she pretend she wasn't Irish?
Oh yeah, she pretended she wasn't Irish. We found out when she died. She went to Mexico first and then went from Mexico to America.
Yeah, the only part of my family that's south is the Native American side, because they're Cherokee. Originally Cherokee, was from Georgia.
Yeah.
And then my mom's side was all north. I don't know anything about my dad's side in between here and Scotland. Well, technically, my dad's side is English. Technically, it was on the border of Scotland and English.
Okay.
So they're technically English. My mom's side is the Scottish and Irish side, but my dad's side's where the Native American comes from. So, yippee.
Your family just looks so much like my mom's side if you just take out the Native American. Add Native American instead of Irish. Like, oh.
I look the most European out of all my siblings too.
You do.
Well, other than my oldest sister.
Yeah.
My oldest sister looks very Aryan.
Oh, I hate using that word, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's the best way to put it.
And the only thing that you're missing out on is that you have green eyes instead of blue ones, and even then, like,
my hair's turning more brown.
Yeah, you would still count.
Like my dad's.
You would still count.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, from being raised around what I was raised around, they can tell. They will always be able to tell. It's so fucking disgusting. Yeah, no. You know how often as a child I would be sitting and watching something and they'd call somebody blonde who looks like a brunette? And if I, like, they'd literally be like, is that person a blonde or a brunette? And if I said, like, brunette and they were just blonde who had darkened to brunette, I would get yelled at. Like,
oh, that's so weird.
Like, no, they can fucking tell who used to have blonde hair. Even if it's darkened to brown, there's a way to tell. And unfortunately, I know how to tell, and I hate myself for that.
That's so weird. All right, let's actually get into this story. Disclaimer. Not disclaimer, actually. Reminder. I really wanted to like this book before I read it. It was in like chapter 2 I texted you and was like, oh no.
Yes, you did.
So, we begin with the part in the movie where Merida has just shot for her own hand, and Eleanor, her mother, is very unhappy and throws her bow in the fire, causing Merida to run away and find the witch's cottage. Now, Merida not only mentions changing her mom and her fate, but also needing more time. So the witch makes a slightly different spell than the movie. She adds something different, but it still turns into a cake. I don't know how that happens. Magic. Merida decides to eat the cake herself instead of giving it to her mom because in her mind, traditions and culture would still expect her to marry even if her mother changes her mind. So Merida decides she has to be changed in order to, gain the authority over her own life. So Merida eats the cake and promptly passes the fuck out.
Oh, this would have been so much better if this was a trans storyline instead of a time travel storyline.
This is when I went, okay, well, this is what we're doing. We cut to Eleanor, who is not queen at this time, but is princess of Clan McCameron and their kingdom.
And her name is Eleanor, understood, got it.
Now, Eleanor is preparing to run away to avoid her impending betrothal to the son of Clan Fraser.
All right, okay.
She doesn't. I'm gonna say this the way Fergus says it. I don't want to get married. I don't want to have my life decided for me. I want my freedom. Sound familiar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly, she is too slow in leaving, and her maid calls her for her princess lessons.
Eleanor, my sweet summer child.
So,
Okay.
Merida wakes up with a head injury, and somehow her fucking horse went through time with her?
Did the horse eat the cake?
I don't know! I guess! Because he's fucking here! I hit my mic.
The horse either ate the cake or the horse is also Merida.
I guess. So she notices that the stones lack some of the moss that that they should have and stuff like that. And somehow, I guess she decided to take a bow with her because she has a bow that she takes off of Angus's saddle. We don't see that in the book. We just see her promptly running the fuck away. So to me, this random bow is a plot hole. But she has a bow, miraculously. Yippee. And she begins to walk off with her horse, naturally, in the direction she thinks home is. But she constantly does not recognize where the hell she is. And she gets really confused. So she sees some people with a really unfamiliar tartan. And she's like, I don't know who they are. And she hides until they walk away. She's like, what? Invaders on our land? There hasn't been invaders since the Vikings. I need to warn people. So she comes across this village that looks primitive to her due to having thatched roofs. Because in Dunbrock, they don't have thatched roofs anymore. And she's like, oh, I must be on clan such and such land. I don't remember which one.
Oh my god. It's been a generation. Not even... Okay. Keep going.
I did write it down. She thinks she's on the land of Clan Macintosh. One of the, men, she's like, fuck you, I'm not marrying you.
Yeah.
And she tries to get information on how to get home. And instead, they're like, we don't want any Dunbrocks here. Go away. And she's like, oh... this must be because of the games. They must have heard what I did and that I slighted their clan. And eventually someone's like, even with the Peace Alliance, we don't care. And she's like, that was like forever ago? What are you talking about? So then she goes back into the woods and she catches a rabbit and cooks it and sets up camp and falls asleep. And then she wakes up the next day with a knife at her throat and discovers that Clan McCameron is the one with a kingdom, not Clandonbrock. And she is confused, since in her time, the McCamerons were almost wiped out by the Vikings. She's still not picking up what's being laid down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so her and this random woman come across some Dunbrockmen in the woods, and Merida doesn't recognize the tartan. And the lady's like, how do you not recognize the tartan of your own clan? Are you stupid? And then upon asking the woman about everything, like who she is, she discovers that this is Princess Eleanor. Her mom.
Yep.
She still doesn't piece it together, hearing that this is her mom, by the way.
Merida, you're not that stupid.
And that's what I wrote. And so Eleanor decides to take Merida, poor, wounded, head-injured Merida, to the castle to mend her. And also, because she's impressed with Merida's survival skills and wants Merida to teach her how to do all these things. And Merida, still not realizing that she has time traveled, only realizes that she has time traveled after her and Eleanor are like clippity cloppity and hoppity hopping to the castle or whatever, and she realizes that there's a bunch of Dunbrockmen with another guy that's on the ground, and she realizes that it's Fergus, her dad, and she realizes she took the place of her dad in their cute meet cute story that she has heard since she was a child, which we heard which is in the prologue, which is that her mom ran into Fergus, who was injured, and took him to the castle, despite the fact that they've been enemies with the Dunbrocks, and the McCamerons were enemies, and there's this peace alliance with them. And that is how they bond, and then they fall in love. So she's taken Fergus's place. This would be real interesting if the mom was somehow in love with Merida, but we don't get that part of Back to the Future.
This is Back to the Future, all right?
Yes, that is what's happening. Except we don't have an almost rape scene.
Honestly, that's for the better.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Readjusting my expectations. Also, the inherent self-misogyny of not being able to recognize your mom, but being able to recognize your dad. That's fucking weird.
Yeah. I guess Fergus does not change.
Huh. All right.
I mean, I've seen pictures of my mom, and I can still tell it's my mom, even though she's definitely older now.
Yeah.
My dad looks almost exactly the same, though, I will say that. My dad has not aged. He's just gotten some gray hairs.
I wouldn't...
And heavier.
I wouldn't recognize my dad if I went back in time and saw him as a... Like, I've seen pictures of him as a teenager, and my brain can't comprehend that that's him.
Interesting. To be fair, it's a thing in my lineage that the men age gracefully.
Yeah, in mine, it's that the women age gracefully. Like, I look like a carbon copy of my mom, unfortunately. Unfortunately, because I don't want to look like a woman. Fortunately, because my mom is a pretty person.
You are a very handsome person.
Dankeschön. Oh, somebody called me dashing the other day. I was like, ooh.
Ooh!
That's a new one. I like that.
All right. So Eleanor takes Merida to the castle, using her plaid to cover Merida's hair, because she doesn't want anyone to know that Merida is from Dunbrock.
Okay.
And she takes her to the physician, and mind you, I'm not going to say how often we switch between the perspectives because it's annoying. But Merida sneaks out to find the witch, because she saw the witch in the little village area earlier. Mind you, she was just like, that lady looks familiar. Why does that lady look familiar? Because it's a witch.
Is the witch younger?
Yes.
Gross.
So, the witch who lives in the McCameron village, she finds her, the witch lives with her mom, actually, at this point. And she explains what future witch did, that she got a spell. The witch's name is Freya, by the way.
Oh my god.
So, she's like... Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Hold up. Where's the notebook really fast? Okay.
Okay, so... and the witch is like, oh my god, I become that powerful of a witch? Yes! And she's like, yeah, I'll look into the spell. I'll see if I can figure out what spell it is. She is hoping to send her back in time, basically. And mind you, Merida still doesn't really believe fully that she's back in time. And the witch is also like, yeah, I don't remember if it's this part or the next, or when she meets the witch again. But she's like, yeah, you got like 2 weeks to fix all this shit.
Why?
So that I can send you back. Because solstice, and also Eleanor's betrothal is announced at the Highland Games in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Also, Eleanor plans on running the fuck away before the betrothal, so there's that.
Uh-huh.
They've been betrothed since babies.
Okay. All right. These are just moving parts.
So Eleanor finds Merida on her way back to her room, and is like, hey, yeah, so I'll help you get back home. But you gotta stay here first and help me because you're gonna teach me survival skills so that I can run away and yeah, before the Highland Games. And Merida's like, cool, whatever keeps me in this castle. So to keep Merida in the castle, Eleanor gets Merida a job in the kitchens. And this is how Merida realizes how poorly the servants of the McCamerons are treated. Because the McCamerons are eating things like salmon and pheasant and all this yummy shit. And she gets like a bowl of soup, lucky if it has meat, and a piece of bread. And she's like, oh my god, how are the people at my castle treated? I don't know how my staff are treated at all. Bitch, you're friends with Maudie at your castle. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
anyway,
I did. Yeah.
I saw your movie.
Throwing some random bits of classism in this story.
Yes, we are.
That's already a weird time travel Back to the Future thing.
Yeah. There's also a higher-up maid named, like, Eileen, who just absolutely hates Merida, and also, weirdly enough, does not like Eleanor. She'll come back in later, that's the only reason I'm mentioning it.
Okay.
Eleanor retrieves Merida, who goes with her to this place. Like, Merida's leading Eleanor to this one place that they can learn how to gallop, because apparently Eleanor doesn't know how to gallop on a horse.
That makes sense.
What?
That actually does make sense.
I mean, fair. She's like a fancy rich lady who doesn't have to leave her castle. But
yeah, and horseback riding back in the day for women did not look the way the movie portrays it.
Fair.
If a woman galloping on a horse was actually considered incredibly indecent, as well as potentially dangerous for her uterus.
Everything was dangerous for the uterus back in the day.
Yeah.
So Merida actually is leading Eleanor to where she saw the Dunbrock camp before. So she teaches her how to gallop, and then they come across a soldier of the Dunbrock when Merida's going to teach her about archery, because archery. And the soldier takes them to where the camp of everyone is, because after there's some back and forth, it's like, what are you doing in my land? Blah, blah, blah. This is McCameron land. And so this is where Eleanor and Fergus finally actually meet for the first time. And there's some back and forth of, oh, well, the Dunbrocks are the best archers in the entire land. And so they show off their archery skills, and Fergus tries to woo Eleanor without actually trying to woo Eleanor. And Merida is frustrated that her parents are constantly frustrating each other, not realizing that their banter frustration is flirting.
That's the most aromantic, beautiful thing I've heard.
Yes.
Okay, pop off.
Merida is just a romantic representation.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I need that.
And, Eleanor is clearly attracted to Fergus, but doesn't want to admit that she's attracted to Fergus because... Story. Later, while serving dinner one day, because she's forced to serve dinner because there's, like, staff shortage or whatever, Merida learns about her mother's betrothal to the son of Clan Fraser, because she does not know that her mother's actually engaged. She's like, why is it not someone from Clan Dunbrock? Like, what the heck? And so Merida questions her mom, and Eleanor's like, well, why the hell would it be someone from Clan Dunbrock? Hello? And Merida's like, but didn't they challenge for your hand at the Highland Games? And Eleanor's like, no. I've been in, like, forced marriage since birth. What the hell are you talking about? Because the shooting for the hand thing at the games has not become tradition yet.
Huh. That's what...
Yeah.
It's only been a generation, guys.
Yes. It has only been a generation.
I need people to remember how things become traditions.
It takes a long time.
Honestly, like, I can forgive the tartan thing because of the whole, like, writing for people who are a modern audience. I can't forgive what's a tradition, what's ancient, what's blah, 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 blah. Like, it's a generation, not even a full generation. We're probably talking less than 20 years. What is happening here?
Yeah, because Eleanor's probably about Merida's age.
And probably has Merida in only like a year or two from now.
Yeah. Merida goes and meets with the witch again. And this is when she discovers that she's turning into a bear. Because she's getting fur behind her ears and on her chin. It's just happening slowly. Remember what I said about needing more time?
That makes sense. We had to bring the bear back in some way.
Yeah. Well, the witch also, because of noticing that she's turning into a bear, realizes what spell she used, and that the spell is based on the legend of the black bear.
Okay.
Like in the movie.
Yeah.
And so they talk about what Merida does and doesn't know about what's supposed to happen in her timeline, about how her parents were supposed to meet, about how her dad's supposed to become king. And it very clearly realizes that Merida's not very smart or have much critical thinking skills when it comes to history, because she mentions how she was always wondering how her father was able to rally the clans and stuff like that when he wasn't king or whatever. Well, it's because her father became king because he was in the position for it after marrying Eleanor, after Eleanor's dad, kicks the bucket.
Okay. I mean, that's...
And then, Viking invasions happen.
There's historical precedent for what's going on here, so I'm not too upset. It's a little...
No. It's not upsetting that, that's what happened. It's the fact that you've always wondered about this, but you never, flippin' asked.
You're how old, Merida? 16?
I'd like to believe she's... How old is she?
She has a canon age. Merida age Disney 16. She is in canon, 16 years old.
Yeah, I think you should be smart enough to ask. Hello. And so Freya, the witch, promises to prepare the spell that she needs to send Merida back after the games on the solstice in 2 weeks. We got a 2-week timeline. Merida runs into Fergus on her way back to the castle after meeting the witch, and basically pesters him until he tells her that he believes there's a threat to the kingdom. And Eleanor, who happened to be, going to meet Merida in the woods for campfire lessons, comes upon them and is like, what threat are you talking about? Excuse me. And Fergus is like, no, this is none of your business. Go, do princessy things. She eventually gets him to talk about it, and she even accuses him and is like, well, the Dumbrocks would be the ones that would be behind any threat. And he's like, excuse me? There's a peace alliance. What are you talking about? She's like, well, still.
Oh my god.
And I like that he defends himself and his people. He's literally like, are you implying that we're less than? Excuse me? So eventually he shows them this scrap of paper that he found on the ground that has a poem on it. That is what they believe is saying there's a danger to the kingdom. And the note says, on the day the sun reaches the height fairies cherish, those under the roar's rule will perish.
Those under the roar's rule?
Those under the roar's rule will perish. Yes.
Okay.
They agree that the first half is about the solstice, but they don't know about the second half, and Fergus wonders if it's because of Mor'du, the demon bear thing. But they're not sure. And by the way, Mor'du does not show up in this book, sadly. So,
how do you make a brave thing without bringing Mor'du back?
Back to the Future. So, against Fergus's wishes, Eleanor decides to help figure out what this threat is, because it is her kingdom and her family / people at risk. Okay? So she's like, well, our planning stuff will just have to wait. So, while planning some more, Fergus gives Eleanor some red currant berries that he picked. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is the nicest gift anyone has ever given me. I've been given riches because I'm a princess, but he gave me these berries and it's so sweet. They make eye contact for a while, and Merida's like, princess, hello?
This is what you want, Merida.
Yeah, don't interrupt.
Oh, Merida. I get it.
So they agree to start by asking the maker of this parchment if he keeps a record of those who buy it. And Eleanor wants to start investigating right meow. Okay, right now. And Merida's like, but what about our survival lessons? And Merida's like, this threat is more important. And then she begins to wonder what would have happened to her kingdom if she had left already. She had planned to leave before this. If she had not run into Merida, she would not be here. And then she, this just feels like a half-ass way of being like, See, duty is more important than what you want. Yeah.
I am actively writing a movie where the theme is balancing it, you cannot have freedom without duty.
Yeah.
I don't like this version of that theme because this isn't even what my theme is. My theme is you can't have freedom without duty. This theme is that duty is more important than freedom.
It gets worse. Don't worry.
Great.
So Eleanor and Fergus pose as a Viscar and his wife. So like these like noble bitches. And they go to talk to the merchants, especially the farriers, where Fergus's men overheard a man mentioning that some of the chieftains are dissatisfied with how the king is ruling the kingdom. So they do questioning stuff. Eleanor is impressed by the fact that he asks all the questions that she would have asked. They stop to rest Eleanor's feet because she's actually not wearing her shoes. She doesn't have, poor enough looking shoes, so she's wearing her maid shoes that she stole. And she notices a boy pick up a half-eaten apple off the ground, clean it off, and then just starts eating it. And she's horrified that her people are, having to do this. And begins to think about how she and her family are the problem, since they don't associate with the people and make sure that people are cared for. And she mentions this to Fergus, and he goes out and buys a loaf of bread, gives it to the boy along with some coins, and it's like, yeah, I'll come back and visit him, make sure he's actually got food later. And Eleanor realizes how kind he is, how sweet he is. Oh my gosh. And then they talk, and she's like, oh my goodness, we have the same beliefs on how a kingdom should be ran. To care for its people.
Okay,
Cue Russian anthem.
Can we get a...
I don't know the Russian anthem.
Let's get my brother singing it, because he does actually know it off the top of his head.
Cue the Russian communism anthem. Which is honestly not much to ask for, that people have enough to eat. Hello?
It's almost as though regular revolutions happen over shit like this.
Yeah. Fucking. So, Merida, when Eleanor's not around, because she's actually, using the bathroom in the nature, tells Fergus that she is of Dumbrock, and he's like, yeah, I already figured that out, lady. I've seen your hair. Yeah. And she's like, well, if you married the princess, it would strengthen the clan and also, the kingdom, would solidify the peace alliance. And he's like, she is already engaged, my lady. Like, what are you talking about? And Eleanor, realizing that this could be the reason why traditions are made, tells Fergus to challenge the son of Fraser at the Highland Games for Eleanor's hand. There you go. That's how we get the tradition.
It's been a generation.
So, the next day, Merida's too busy to teach Eleanor how to start a fire. So she's like, I'm just gonna go find Fergus. So she goes to find Fergus. And he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I want to learn how to start a fire. And he's like, okay, well, I gotta cook this fish anyway. I might as well. So they're in the middle of, learning the lessons. And she's not that great at it, but he's being patient. And then, who should come across them but her betrothal?
Oh, ooh.
Lachlan.
Dun, dun, dun!
They're in the middle of the fucking woods.
Why are you in the middle of the woods, dude? Is that an actual plot point?
They're in the middle of the fucking woods. Nearby the Dungbrock camp, by the way. Like, not actually, they're like a few yards away from the camp. Like, my dude's just in the middle of the woods, not even on the path.
And there's no explanation why?
No. He's just there.
What a plot hole.
Yeah. Obviously, he has to be the absolute worst. We cannot like him one bit.
Ugh.
He insults Fergus's hair, calls him primitive for not using a fire steel to light the fire, and then he has the audacity to call Eleanor by her name without her permission instead of using her title, as though he already owns her.
So, we give a lot of shit to these guys who are, they're written to be the absolute worst so that we can justify a broken engagement to end up with a different dude at the end of the book. But then we also make fun of the Hallmark boyfriends who are just like, okay, yeah, I guess you were here for a weekend and now you're breaking up with me to be with your childhood crush. Cool, great. We make fun of both of them.
Yes.
Is there no in between?
No, apparently not.
Okay.
Like, here's the thing. It's very clear that Fergus is the ideal, you know. They're already married to begin with. And even in the movie they have that frustration banter thing that, you know, grandparents have.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You know, like I've said, I understand being attracted to someone that frustrates the shit out of you. My husband doesn't, but I love him the way he is for different reasons. But the big thing is, you could have at least made this guy try to be nice to Eleanor, even in the slightest bit. He's not at all.
Well, maybe it's a good thing his clan doesn't exist anymore.
Fair. Eleanor then has to sit through dinner, wondering if Lachlan is going to bring up the fact that, you know, he caught her with a random dude making a fire in the middle of the woods, even though that's not his betrothed. And also, that is a done Brock. That is not done here, sweet pea. I don't know why I'm Southern anymore.
Oh, honey. We don't do those things around here, sweet cheeks.
So she's also thinking about how she doesn't want to get married, especially to Lachlan, because she doesn't want to be controlled, and she'll just be gone before they can ever get married.
Oh, wait. Theory time. Eileen gets married to Lachlan.
Okay, I will take your theory. Now, here is my problem with this. She's supposed to be this opposed to her engagement, and yet later presses Merida into one. Like,
yeah, no, none of this makes sense.
How am I supposed to believe this is the same person?
This is not the same person. None of this makes sense.
Luckily, Lachlan does not mention Fergus, but Merida is working the dinner service for some ungodly reason, and she comes across Lachlan and Eileen whispering in a little corner area on her way to the dry larder. And she tries to think this must be some innocent little thing, but she's like, oh my god, what if they're in like a little, what if this is an affair thing? And especially since Lachlan used the excuse of going to the privy, and there is, like, not one over this way, and he says he got lost, but, like, did he though? So she's suspicious. And then Eleanor comes to find her early because the king fell ill after dessert.
Oh no.
Which Merida does not pick up on this right away. She picks up on it later, though. That Eileen, maybe it's pronounced Aileen, but I'm just going to say Eileen, made and gave to the king. Dun, dun, dun.
It's Eileen, right?
It's Ialen,
Oh.
yeah.
It could be Eileen.
Could be Aileen.
Could be Aileen.
Aileen.
I grew up down the street from an Eileen, and it was Eileen.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, maybe this is Aileen? Eileen?
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's an English name. I don't think it is. I think it's been anglicized in some manner.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think.
Kind of like how my last name's been anglicized.
It's always been with an AI/AY. So it's probably Aileen.
Okay.
Based on a Reddit thing.
Okay. We'll take Reddit for their word this time.
Okay, Aileen. When Aileen questions Eleanor about why she's in the kitchen with Merida and to get Merida, and says Merida can't go due to having to work in the kitchens, Eleanor says, well, she's being promoted, and makes Merida her personal maid, which causes Merida to be ostracized and more hated by the staff.
Oh boy.
Which Eleanor has no clue about. I'm only mentioning this because she gets fired later.
Okay. All right. I see the plot point.
Yeah. So Merida and Eleanor talk about how the queen is mad about her promotion and is not fond of the staff at all. Like, the queen's thing is staff plus royalty mixing equals no. We cannot become friends because we are to be respected. Okay?
Oh, hey, classism.
Now, Eleanor disagrees and says that she will rule differently. And they also talk about what Eleanor will do when she runs the fuck away. She's got no plan. My girl has no idea what she's gonna do. She's like, I will travel. And Merida's like, okay, but what do you like to do? Hello. What makes your heart afire? And Eleanor says, helping her villagers and her people.
What a personality trait.
Yes.
What is that? What is that personality trait? Who that's a moral code, a moral compass, not a personality, not a hobby.
No, like that's a hobby for like a nun, I guess. because nuns don't have much personalities to begin with.
Nuns were whores. Like, I'm not joking. Nuns actually had to be, like, moved away from men regularly because of how often those women got freaky.
Oh, yeah.
At least in the medieval era. Not in the modern era, but in the medieval era, yeah.
Well, it was really different at that time, too, with how promiscuous people could be, men versus women. Like, priests back in the day could could actually sleep with people. They could get married.
Yes.
They can't anymore.
Yes.
No. We can't do that.
Must be holier than thou. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Nuns were...
So the next...
Nuns have an interesting history. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So the next day, Merida is teaching Eleanor to fish with a bow and arrow when Fergus comes upon them and begins to assist in said teaching. And on the way back to the horses, Merida believes she hears something in the bushes, but doesn't see anything, so she doesn't mention it. And when they get back to the castle, the king is furious and forbids Eleanor and Merida from interacting. Because it comes to light that he knows Eleanor and Fergus have been associating. Doesn't say how he knows, so Eleanor believes he's been spying on her using, one of his guards or whatever. And then he demotes Merida. She's been a personal maid for like a day. Obviously, Eleanor ignores this, and she wakes Merida up in the middle of the night and says, hey, we're gonna go investigate some more, and we're gonna do this dressed as nuns, honey.
Okay.
Yeah, the nuns are come back around.
They've come back around, all right.
So she's like, yeah, we're gonna dress as nuns.
What year is it? What year is it again? This is before
9th to 12th century.
Why are there nuns?
I don't know.
Okay. One sec. For the second time today. Hopefully that will kill some brain cells and I can understand the story better.
So, luckily, they don't get far because they come across, the Dunbrock men. Again, I don't know how they keep coming across these guys who talk them out of it. Because they're like, hello, it was recently whatever the ancient Scottish version of Sunday was. They wouldn't be wandering around right now. That's, like, way too suspicious. I don't know, I guess Eleanor's not religious enough. Or nuns don't travel enough? I don't know.
What is happening?
It's getting weird, okay? So, Eleanor tells Merida she will never be free if she is someone's wife at this point. Which, again, this woman tries to press her daughter into marriage later. And she's like, I will never be free if I am married to a man.
This is not the same person.
No. This is one of the biggest problems in this book is they just made Eleanor Merida 2.0.
Yeah. Like, part of the fun of Back to the Future is that they are not the same.
No.
So tired.
Don't worry. We're almost there.
Thank God.
So, the next day, Merida is sent to get turf, and overhears Aileen and at least 2 other people discussing how they need to wait till the other clans are here to enact their plan. But one of the men thinks it should be done tonight, and she discovers that Lachlan sent a spy, who is how the king found out that Eleanor was with Fergus and all that stuff, and how Aileen thinks Eleanor should be hanged for being around Fergus.
What in the southern culture is this?
I don't know. The guys are like, well, what do we tell Lachlan? Like, what are we going to do? And Aileen says that she will take care of things and that they should stick to the original plan. Merida goes to find Eleanor to tell her what's happening, like what she just overheard. Well, not what she overheard, just the fact that the king wasn't the one that sent the spy. And they hear a large crash before Merida can say anything. And the crash was one of the suits of armor in the king's study somehow falling over into a million little pieces, and the battle axe would have killed him if he had been sitting at his desk. He is wounded, but I guess he avoided the most of the axe.
Okay. That's an elaborate plan that might or might not work.
When Eleanor says that, this was just an accident, Merida says she doesn't think it was an accident. And she says this because she believes that the Roars rule part of that, little poem thing, is the fact that there's a lion on the McCameron crest. But she doesn't get to say this.
Why is there a lion on the fucking crest? Why? Why? No, there is a history behind lions being on crests in Europe. Why is there a lion on this crest in fucking Scotland?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's how we know my family's English, is because there's lions.
I know why it's on the English crest. It should not be on the fucking Scottish, but no. I'm sorry. That caught me off guard. That pissed me off. I was expecting a bear. Full honesty, I'd be like, yeah, bears roar. What in the lion is happening?
It should have been a bear or something like that. Like, what's on my family crest? The Scottish family?
Huh.
A unicorn! The national animal of Scotland!
I love this. No, okay, like, lions on crests, I understand that there were lions in Europe for a long time, but they mostly went extinct by the time that we get to the medieval era. But the medieval era, like, people who were in the medieval ages still remember stories about lions that have been passed down since the ancient Greeks. So we know that lions have gone as far north as, like, southern Germany, most of France. But they were mostly extinct by that time. But at that point, they were like this mythological, like, yes, we are the new lions of Europe, because we have conquered like a lion would conquer. It's like this whole fucking thing. But it wouldn't have been Scotland. And the reason why it's in the English crest is because of England's ties to France.
Where is William the First from?
William the Conqueror is from Normandy, which is France. He is of Norwegian French descent.
So that is the only reason there would be a lion, is because he was known as the Lion.
Yes.
And he became the king of Alba. But that's not the Highlands.
That's not the Highlands. And, like, he had to conquer his way up there. And it would be, like, we're talking 9th to 12th century. We're talking 1100, so 12th century.
Yeah.
England. Like, and this is apparently before Merida. Stop with the fucking lion. Make it a bear. Make it, like, one of those fucking cats that actually exist in Scotland.
Yeah.
There are wildcats in Scotland that are not lions. I know they're small and adorable, but they are vicious.
Oh yeah, they're fucking adorable. I want one.
Those things are fucking vicious and they'd eat you.
They would.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a lion. And so before she can mention the whole lion roar theory, the queen stumbles upon them and is fucking pissed. And tells Merida to get the fuck out. So then, at dinner that night, Merida puts together the king being ill plot, and the chieftain convinces the king, mind you, the chieftain of Clan Fraser, convinces the king to not have the wedding announced at the Highland Games, but to have the wedding happen at the Highland Games. The queen is not happy about this. She's actually very opposed to this, which causes the king to be like, nah, bitch, I'm the king. And Eleanor goes to her room after dinner and starts packing. She's like, I'm gone. Fuck this.
Goodness gracious.
But Merida comes across her and convinces her not to run away. She explains the thing about Aileen and Lachlan and the roar thing, and at first Eleanor does not believe her, but then she convinces her, and Merida is like, hey, I'm gonna go talk to Fergus, we'll make a plan, we'll figure out what we're gonna do. You stay here, I'll be back. She goes to Fergus, she tells him about the plot, and the wedding thing at the games, all of this stuff, and Fergus tells Merida to go tell the king's second in command about what's going on. So she goes back to the castle, she's gonna go find this soldier dude, that Fergus happens to know, because something.
Okay.
And Aileen grabs her, takes off her scarf head plaid thing, and is like, aha, I knew it. She drags her to the queen, and the queen is like, Dunbrack! And kicks her out of the castle and bans her from the McCameron land.
Alright. Okay. I mean, that was a plot point that was eventually has to happen, but like, okay.
So, at the games, the next day, Eleanor is upset because Merida never returned, so she never ran away.
Oh.
And she's like, Merida has abandoned me, and I'm stuck here, and this sucks. So she's watching the games, and then it comes to the archery part, and Lachlan gets close to the bullseye, and then Fergus goes to shoot, and they're like, let's see if the Dunbrocks are actually as good as they say. But then his arrowheads start falling off, and he's like, sabotage! And then Merida's like, I will shoot for the Dunbrocks, because I am Dunbrock, and everyone sees that, because remember, she's turned into a bear. Like, she's furry, she's got claws, and everyone's like, what the hell? Okay. She's like, it was something I ate. And the queen is pissed. She's like, I banned you from my land. And Merida's like, excuse me, this is the Highland Games. I'm allowed to be here. And Lachlan's like, it's just a girl, let her shoot. She's not going to do good anyway. Well, she does.
This just completely ruins the Highland Games scene of the movie, but like, yeah, we'll move with it. We'll move with it.
So her and Lachlan tie, and Lachlan says that there cannot be a tie, so they have to shoot again. They go to start shooting, but then an arrow flies towards the king, and Fergus jumps in front of the king and takes the arrow for him. And this is when Merida goes and tells the second in command about the plot. You know, the plot to kill the king? Yeah, that plot. Because he almost just died, but Fergus stopped it. And everyone's like, oh my god, a Dunbrock saved the king. And the second in command is like, but where did Lachlan go? He's gone. So then Fergus gets taken to the castle. Eleanor is like at his side. Merida is happy that things are back to the way they should be because her parents are bonding. Because remember, he was supposed to get there injured so that they could bond and she could be all like, oh my god.
Yeah. Full circle.
And the plotters get arrested. And good news, the clan chief apparently didn't know anything about this plot. He just really wanted his son to get married.
Well, now his son deserves to die and will probably be murdered for his crimes.
Yes. Now, at dinner, it's clear that Eleanor and Fergus fancy each other. He even kisses her hand and all that. And Merida sees that things are gonna go well. Fergus is also guest of honor because, he saved the king. And now his clan is now also clan of honor because, again, he saved the king. And Merida goes to meet the witch. And the witch is like, oh my god, you need to eat this cake now. Shove it in your mouth. Because it's the solstice. The sun is at its peak. They're at dinner, mind you, okay?
That's how you get arrested for a murder charge.
So, she eats the cake, and it appears not to work, so she is all depressed. She goes back to Fergus and Eleanor crushed, because she will become a bear. So her plan is to say goodbye and then run away to the lowlands and live her life as a bear, I guess. I don't know what she's doing with her horse. Remember, she's had her horse this whole damn time.
Yeah.
She's gonna be giving it to Eleanor?
I guess so. Is the horse going to become its own father? That's how you...
So Eleanor...
Go ahead.
I don't know. Tell me about this horse becoming its own father.
I've always thought about, those stories where the person becomes their own father, right? And, that's just one way that's really just a fancy method of removing yourself from the gene pool.
All right. So Eleanor finds Merida, and they hug, and Eleanor thanks her, and because, she's like, Merida's leaving, she's going home to wherever Merida is from, and so she hugs I almost said Melanor. Wow. Eleanor hugs Merida and thanks her, saying she has learned how privileged she is to be in her position to help better the lives of her people, and she now understands how important her duties as princess are, and she mentions her and Fergus aren't going to get married right away, but they are going to get married probably soon.
Okay.
And then Merida says that she has learned the importance of family and how her actions affect others.
I don't think that's what you learned, Merida. I don't think you learned shit.
Okay, I've just got one paragraph, and then we can talk about the problems.
Okay.
So, Merida rounds a corner, because she's going to go run away and turn into a bear, and then she passes the fuck out. And she wakes up on the castle floor, and she's like, what is going on? And then she runs into Maudie! Remember Maudie?
Mm-hmm.
And she's excited to be back in her own time, and she runs, and she finds Queen Eleanor, who mentions that she's only been gone a couple minutes. What do you mean you missed me? And Eleanor's like, yeah, I know our argument was about the fact that, I wasn't letting you compete in the Highland Games, but your grandmother convinced me to allow it. So her grandparents are alive now in her time. When they were originally dead.
I understand.
The McCameron clan remains under the parents' rule, and then when they, kick the bucket or whatever, then it'll go under Fergus's rule. So Merida's like, I can compete, and she's like, yeah, go ahead. And so Merida goes and sees the witch, and she's like, why did I have to go all through this stuff? And nothing really has changed. And the witch is like, but you've changed. And then Merida realizes she has changed, because now she's ready to embrace her duties. So then she meets up with the king and the queen, and she's like, I am ready to do my duties and to eventually reign as queen, but I don't want to get married yet. If I get married in the future, it will be for love. And the queen's like, okay.
What? No, okay. No.
Yeah. And then Merida says they should travel to McCameron land at some point, and everyone thinks it's a great idea. And they live happily ever after.
This happened.
I actually... Would you like to hear how I explained this to Dalton last night when I finished this book?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is my absolutely unhinged synopsis of how this book went. I don't want to get married. No, you're going to get married. I'm going to go run away and eat this cake. I eat this cake. I fall asleep. What? I'm in a weird timeline. Why is there not moss on these things? What? There's a person? What? You're Eleanor? What? That's Fergus? Oh my god, witch, what am I going to do? Well, you went back in time. I'm going to have to figure out the spell thing. You're turning into a bear. Oh my god! There's plotters. They're going to kill people. I have to make my parents somehow fall in love with each other. Oh my god, they're going to try and kill the king. Roar, there's a lion for some reason. Okay, we're at the Highland Games. Oh my god, sabotage. I'm going to fire from my own hand. Wait, I'm going to fire for whatever. Oh my goodness, I'm still turning into a bear. The cake didn't work, but at least they're falling in love now. Oh my god, the cake did work. Now I'm back in my time. Mom, I don't want to get married. I want to fly away into the sunset, and I want to travel. Okay. And that's how it happened.
That's a short right there.
that was this book.
that was an experience. Just watch the movie.
Yeah. Mind you, I love the movie for multiple reasons. At least you see changes actually valid in that movie.
Yeah.
Like, the entire point of that movie is they compromise.
Yeah.
In this, there's nothing.
There's something's happened here, and I don't know what it was, but it's happened.
Like, you made two Meridas for some reason.
Yeah. Did Eleanor have to be another Merida? Could we have gotten, like, soft femme young Eleanor who, like, is not hardened by the world yet?
Yeah, like, or you could have an Eleanor who really thinks she should marry this Fraser guy because that's tradition or whatever, like, is completely against marrying Fergus, and so so Merida has to, like, make them realize that that's a better thing or something, anything. But the big point is, Merida, for some reason, took Fergus's spot. Like, the time travel was not needed. You could have, like, have Merida slowly turn into the bear or something.
Yeah.
In her own timeline, and have Eleanor be like, well, we can't have you turning into a bear. Your dad will murder you. You're a bear.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, gods. Okay. There's just was a nothing sandwich, and it just kind of forces a random thing at the end. Like, what was the purpose of this journey? Tell me, book. What was our purpose here? To be a cash grab? Because that's what you were.
Yeah, but out of all of the Twisted Tales I have read, this one's the most egregious.
Ugh. The fun part about the Twisted Tales is that we can take the stories and twist, like, a part that's still realistically twistable.
Yeah.
This was not realistically twistable.
There's also, it's not really that different of a spell. The entire point was Eleanor was supposed to eat it, and then slowly turn into the bear.
You mixed up Eleanor and Merida again, because that's how similar they are in this fucking book.
No, because the cake was originally for Eleanor. Merida wasn't supposed to eat it.
Oh, you're right.
So why did the cake send her back in time in the first place?
Because Merida mentioned time, and it needs to be different. It needs to be different. What?
Also the time paradox here, because they also mention how Merida is named after Merida.
Yeah.
But if Merida no longer is being forced into a marriage, why did she go back in time? She didn't.
Once again, Harry Potter being the best example of time movies. Granted, Back to the Future is kind of a good example of time movies because his whole thing is that he has to fix the timeline so that he can get back to a world where he exists.
Yeah, which is what this one is.
Yeah, but also, it still doesn't completely work. The time loop isn't fully closed at the end, ever.
Imagine being the dad in Back to the Future, being like, honey, why does our son look like that guy you tried to fuck in high school?
Yeah. Time travel stories are so messy. And we can acknowledge that time travel stories are inherently messy and going to have plot holes no matter what you do. Unless, once again, you have the Harry Potter thing with the time turner, in which case it's too powerful of an item, so they have to write out who can use it, who can't, and we'll never see it ever again after Prisoner of Azkaban.
I also would have been more okay with the time travel part of this book if maybe it had been that the clans were still warring, if the clans were still fighting, and that was the conflict.
Yeah, but, the way the movie presents the 4 pillars thing really makes it sound like they have been at peace forever. For at least 100, 200 years.
Well, I think that's supposed to be, a past thing. That's why it's considered a legend. But, yeah, the entire point is that they've had this peace alliance.
Yeah, so,
between their 2 clans.
Why is it in this book everything's all rocky? Where's the explanation there? It's not that long ago. It's been it's been a generation.
Yeah, nothing. This is way too short of a time span for all of this shit to take place.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. Could somebody remind this person that there is 20 years is not the difference between the 900s and the 700s? Is there anything more to say? Just a fucking messy book.
I don't think so.
It's a time travel book. I can acknowledge messy time
This
travel.
is one I'm gonna be turning in for store credit.
Good.
What were you saying?
Messy time travel. We can look at Sailor Moon with the messy time travel. And it's still better than this. Because you know what? At least when Tuxedo Mask Mamoru dies for a hot second in the final arc, Chibiusa ceases to exist.
Fair.
Yeah. It's an actual thing that happens. What is going on here?
I don't know. It was also so hard to summarize this because I'm so much of this needs to be included because it comes back around and it's important and shows the parents bonding and shit. But also, it's because of the way the book is, none of it's important.
Yeah, everything's important to telling the story, but then the story becomes a nothing sandwich.
Yeah. Go read Bravely. That is a much better book. Also, the backstory of the mom makes, in my opinion, a lot more sense. Because in that book, Eleanor was originally an orphan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That actually, okay, I see it. I'd also want soft femme Eleanor who gets hardened by the world and make it a tragedy in some method, please.
Honestly, the only thing that I liked from this book was Eleanor looking at the way her mom is, able to command respect when she walks into a room. And then also realizing that she has to be friendly with her staff and her people and things like that and know them. Only good thing. But I still don't see how this Eleanor becomes that Eleanor in such a short time span.
What a mess.
What a world. I forgot to ask you what book you're reading.
I have been busy with homework.
I figured. You've been very silent this week.
Do you want me to end the episode, or are we still talking?
I don't think there's much more to say on this book.
All right. Another short episode. Join us next time when I review Tithe by Holly Black. I don't know.
Isn't that a series?
Yes. I will just review. I haven't read the series yet for this one, so I'm just going to read them back to back to back. All 3 of them are pretty short.
Ooh.
So we'll get 3 episodes in a row that are just the Modern Fairy Tale series by Holly Black.
Okay. And then we can it as a mini series as well as being in the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just make a playlist that's Beryl's talking about Holly Black for however many fucking hours. And then we'll make like a separate channel that's just our like series videos put into lawn form.
There we go.
Yeah.